everyone. Welcome to Saturday Mornings Outdoors. My name is Paul K. Thank you very much for showing up. Today we're going to conclude our series on CB radio reviews with the Stryker 955, the top of the line Cadillac, their flagship model, and a high-end CB with plenty of power, and it's really a great radio. Stay tuned. I hope you enjoy this review. And here this bad boy is. I haven't even cracked the box yet. It's the Stryker 955 HPC, and it's claimed to have 60 watts PEP power, which is more than enough for worldwide communications. This is a 10-meter radio. I am an amateur radio operator, and it's got every feature that you could want in a CB radio. And this is Stryker's flagship. This is their best radio that they make, and it's their most powerful radio that they make. So let's get her opened up, and we'll take a peek. And there she is. Absolutely stunning radio. One of my favorites of all. I say that about all my radios, but this one, it's just gorgeous. So check this out. I'm gonna flip it on. We got it hooked up. You need the power supply. If you're running this in your car, now the reason why Stryker, this is the top of the line radio. All right, their flagship radio. They're the best radio they make, and the specifications, without doing anything to the radio, they claim 60 watts on AM PEP power and FM, and that's plenty of power for 10 meters. And if you have work done to it on the CB band and so forth, it's you can talk worldwide on the thing. And the purpose of this video is to familiarize you with the Stryker radio here, just for the simple fact that I like that brand, and I think it's the best value out there, and it's can be modified to your specifications, how you like it, and also to get you interested in CB radio and amateur radio in general. It's a heck of a good hobby, a lot of fun. There's so many thousands of facets to it, and you get to help your community if you so choose to do so, and you actually get to help the country, in case of disasters. We're the first words out. So that's the purpose of these radio videos for the most part. And not only do I cover CB radio, if you like shortwave listening and other kind of gadgets that fall into this genre, this is what I kind of show, because that's what I like to do. It's my hobby. So anyway, let's get on with the showcase. Let's flip this bad boy on, and stunningly beautiful. Now this one, as opposed to the 447 that I did a review on, this is much more advanced. It has a lot of the features of the 447, but this is much more advanced. This is their flagship, and let's get started. We'll go around the horn. So it's a 4-pin microphone, and once again, I like the static noise canceling microphones because I tend to use these in vehicles, and this one's going to be probably used more as a bass, just because it's got all the doodads on it. But 4-pin microphone, and comes with the standard Stryker microphone. So this button here, it's the same as the 447, a different configuration, but it's got the colors, different colors. It's all blinged out. Fascinating thing to be put into a radio. If you were to do this yourself on your own, they call it a Starlight kit. It's very difficult. I find it is anyway. Maybe some guys don't, but there you see all the color selections. And this is now, it'll do it. That's one. It's on loop. It does it on its own, which is pretty cool. That's a little too pimpy for me, but I don't leave it in that mode. But there you go. So let's find a color that's easily visible. That looks pretty good. All right, so and so there are two versions that are out. There's the V1, the first version, and the V2. The V1, how to tell the difference between the V1 and the V2? Well, interior, there's 3 boards in the V1, and you can adjust them, a lot of the stuff manually. There's potentiometers, there's stuff that you can clip in there to open it up and so forth. In the V2, it's only 1 board. It looks like half, but that doesn't mean there's more in the V2 than there is in the V1. It depends on what you want out of the CB radio. In my personal opinion, I believe both have things to offer. It depends on what you want. How to tell the difference is from the V1 to the V2. The V1 comes in a blue box. The V2 comes in a red box, like you can see there. Comes in a red box. The V1 comes in a blue box. The V1 has no vent holes. The V2 has vent holes in the back here. Give you a peek. The V2 this is the V2, obviously. It has vent holes in the back. Set that up. The V1 has 7 color display. The V2, this one has 8 color display. The V1 has no tone control. See, now this is the improvements. The V2 has tone control for transmit and receive, right? The V1, they claim, is not as bright color. This V2 is almost overpowering. It's ridiculously bright. The V1 adjustments are done from the pots, from potentiometers inside, and the V2 adjustments are done from the front, all from here. So you can do it. All I can say, buyer beware or owner beware. You better know what you're doing before you start tweaking with the internal modifications of this. And I'm not saying it's hard to do, and I'm not saying that it's not, you won't be able to. It's beyond the average person's capability. It's just that once you start tweaking stuff, everything has to be aligned, the transmitter and the receiver, and everything has to be in order. It's not that hard. Really pay attention and watch some of the videos that will be coming out. These are brand new radios, brand new technology-wise. So watch the videos and then just do according to the videos. That's all. It's not, you can accomplish it. Just, you have to, don't mess with stuff. Just don't mess with stuff. That's what I want to say. So those are the differences, how to tell between V1 and V2. If you want an adjustable, interior adjustable radio, go for the V1. If you want a little more bells and whistles and to be able to adjust the radio from the front and so forth like that, and you're into tweaking it with computers, go for the V2. Also, another quality feature in this, although I don't really know. I have to be honest with you, I don't really know. The 447 may have it also, but what this has is SWR warning. If your SWR goes beyond a certain point that's acceptable, instead of ruining the transmitter and just blowing the radio up, or the transmitter section up, it'll automatically shut down. A lot of the newer radios nowadays are coming out with that. I think if it goes past 2.5 or 2.1 or something, SWR, it just shuts down, protecting the radio. That is a really good feature, because everything, millions of radios before that, before like 5 or 10 years ago, before they started adding that feature, you just burnt your radio out. That's the radio game. You gotta be... So the next button up is the scan feature. So you can program through a computer on the port in the back, which I'll show you, different channels, and if you hit the scan button, it'll scan through that. Next button up is the function button, and through the computer, and also on the configuration, this will cycle you through the different functions of the radio. The meter, giant size meter, although this is not what I prefer. That's what this comes with. But I like the analog meters with a needle, and a mechanical needle. It seems to be much more accurate, and you can really adjust it for accuracy. But these are LED displays on this meter, and so SWR, power, and your signal. 3 separate graphs that shows it in this meter. And on the bottom here, this display, this is pretty advanced. I mean, you're getting into amateur radio here. Most of the amateur radios have the high end, way more complicated features, and this will tell you the mode functions as you cycle through the modes with the function button. You'll understand what I mean as we go along. Now, the digital display, one of the coolest things about this particular radio, a few other brands are coming out with it too. It's got frequency counter as well as the channel. So we're in the CB channel. This has been worked on and opened up, so I get the CB band in here, and that's channel 20, but in frequency it's 27.2050, and that's really cool and very valuable. As you change the channel, you'll see the frequency display changes. And like the 447, this 955, and for the most part all of them, they're intuitive. It looks all complicated. It's bristling with knobs and buttons, and that's one of the cool things about it. But as you use it and monkey around with it, and it doesn't take long at all, in an hour, if you're a rank beginner, you'll figure out, or you'll understand through the instruction manual and maybe my video what all these buttons do, and you'll be using them without even thinking about them after a while. You'll be adjusting this and that. So absolutely beautiful overall look to it. Just a gorgeous radio. So starting around the horn, this is your monitor. That's your talkback, this one here. And the back one here is your power. That's the master power control. It's going to control your wattage, what you're putting out. And when you control that, if you look on here in your signal, you'll be able to see how much watts you're putting out. That's what that represents. Mode selector. So you get the PA, FM, AM, USB, and LSB, and it tells you what mode you're in. Okay, so this is your echo and your CTCSS. I never use that. You know, what do you need a tone for on these bands? If you're on the 10 meter band, there are some repeaters you can activate using a CTCSS tone, but on CB radio there's none of that I know of. So if you're using this as strictly a CB radio, so CTCSS is on this side. CTCSS is a tone which is generated by your radio to open up a repeater, and it's an exclusive feature to that repeater. In other words, if you don't have the tone, you can't use that repeater. So that's what that is. Echo is echo. You know what that is. We've talked about that before. It has many different modes. And now on this, the giant display at the bottom here, I'll show you what I mean. Anytime you make any kind of modifications to the switches, you get that. So I just turn the echo on, and then if you echo off, and CTCSS. And next up is the program menu. By hitting this and using this, you can go through all the programming modes, and this will that tells you where you're at on the codes, 1, 2, 3, and this activates as you go through, and you this will give you the settings that you can set the radio at. Take that out of there. And then the other side of that is the Roger beep. If you like that Roger beep, sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. And there's many different Roger beeps in this radio. You get to choose those. There's so many different variables. It's so fun. That's what makes it fun. This is what you're paying for. All right, and here we get the noise blanker. Noise blanker on the right, and the automatic noise limiter on the left. And noise blanker is mostly for electrical noise. Automatic noise limiter is for static that's created probably by the earth and stuff like that, and it's a more sophisticated kind of circuit, and it's very cool when you'll hear it kicking in when you're monitoring, and you'll notice a huge difference in the quality of the transmission you're listening to. So this is kind of a high-end extra that they put in here, and this is a high-cut filter on this button. it any noise above a certain frequency range, that is what a high cut frequency filter does. And then the other side is a dimmer. And now the lights that you see, you can adjust the dimming, and it gets really bright. I don't know why you'd run it top like that. It's too bright. It looks cool, but you don't need that, especially for regular. I like it right about there, about the 9 area. And you stick that in the middle. And this is a pretty serious toggle right here. This is your band switch. So you can do it 2 ways to change the frequency. You can have it in, let's just do it. Put it in the band, and with the main knob, it breaks it down into chunks of frequency subband that you can use. So band 4, band 3, band 2, and so forth. CB band is going to be on band 4 on this radio. Now the other trick out accessory on this is the VFO mode. VFO stands for variable frequency oscillator, and you just tune it by hand. You can just, this is getting really, this is what amateur radios do. You don't have that channel stuff. You just got VFOs on everything for the most part, and they're more money but they're more sophisticated radios. That's what you're paying for. Don't worry. I know what you're thinking. Man, that's complicated. No way. You'll be doing it in an hour. You'll just know what everything is when you start. And back down to the knob world here. So we got the volume and squelch. That's self-explanatory. Squelch cuts off the unwanted noise when no one is transmitting to dead quiet, and the volume is volume. It makes it louder or softer. Microphone and RF. The microphone in RF is the microphone. This one is for adjusting the volume on your microphone, how loud you want to sound to the person you're talking to. And the RF gain control is in the receiver unit. The RF gain is, like I explained with the 447, if someone down the street's running 2,000 watts, you can turn the sensitivity of the receiver down so as to quiet him down so you can hear the radio overall in general. And that's called the gain control, the RF gain. And here's your echo controls for you echo guys that get off on that. I think it just doesn't. To me, it's not for me. I don't like it. Guys are so fanatical about it, the CB guys, but it's just not for me. I don't like echo that much. Maybe a little reverb if you really want to get jiggy with audio quality, but these guys with this repeating 3, 4, 5 second echoes, it's just, it's not for me. So anyway, that's the echo volume. And then the delay time, and this has digital delay on it. You could probably make a delay into infinity. It's pretty impressive. This is a high-end radio. They work really hard to bring in the flagship model up to par for us. And this is a feature that you hardly find ever on any CB. You always find them on any amateur radio that has single sideband, and that is a fine and a coarse fine-tuning for upper and lower sideband. So you can adjust the frequency at a very small increments to make your transmitted signal go up or down very, very slightly. You can adjust it, and it's a clarifier. It's a clarifier, so it makes you sound clearer to the other person, and also the audio coming in, it clarifies that. If the voice on upper sideband sounds like Donald Duck, you generally have to go down. If he sounds like he's King Kong way low, you got to bring it up. So that's what that's for. So that's the package on the front. And there's also so much more. There's programmability in this thing that you can do through hooking up to a computer. You can access a lot of it from here, but when I open this up inside, this is the V2 version. On the V1 version, I believe it had pots on it. I'm not sure, but I believe it had pots on it. I'm going to do research on it, and I find out, I'll tell you. And but on this, all the adjustments, opening up and peaking and tuning. We talked about that in the last video. Excuse me. Why you need to get a CB radio peaked and tuned, or you don't need to get it peaked and tuned, but if you want optimal performance, that's what you want to have done to it. Either you can do it yourself. I wouldn't mess around with it if you don't know what you're doing, or you can have your radio guy do it. And he will do anything that you ask. They actually will list a menu of the things that most really good shops will list, a menu of what they offer, and just ask the guy, talk to him. They're very, very easy people to talk to, and they don't, whether you're a beginner or an expert, you just tell them what you want, and they'll explain it to you and tell you what you need to have done. And if you want the radio to run optimally, the bottom line is you have to tweak the inside of it. You can run it straight out of the box, but you're shortchanging yourself. You're buying a Slim Jim and only eating a quarter of it, and you're not getting to eat the other 3/4 of the Slim Jim, basically, for a metaphor. All right, so we take a peek at the back, and like I said in the last video on the 447, this one has a massive heat sink. That's power right there. That's when you see that. That means the radio inside, the more power you have, the more heated up it's got to be in there. And the transmitter has to be cooled off. So the heat gets sucked out into these, and there's a larger surface area for them to cool down by. Standard antenna connection, power connection, internal PA speaker, and external speaker, and your data port. And that's the whole shebang in the back. Pretty standard. Just as a little note, this is larger than on the 447, the heatsink. Although the 447 heatsinks was more substantial, it was thicker fins. So this thinner fins means quicker cooling. The metal will cool off quicker because they're thinner. And that's. So now a word about having the work done, as long as on that subject. There's a few guys that are advertised online that are not very reputable, and you want to be very, very careful who you send your dollars to online. If you have a local CB shop, go to him, go work with him personally, and if you don't like the way things work with him personally, you can talk to him personally. But when you're dealing online, you need a reputable dealer. And I've been through guys that are bums, basically, and they're one-man shows, and they're usually young guys, and they're pretty cocky, and they really don't know what they're doing. I have an extra class amateur radio license. I know a little bit about radios, and when I buy these type of radios, if I want work modified, I have it done right there at the shop. So you want a guy you can trust. My personal guys that I do, I am not sponsored by anybody. I paid my own money, every dollar for this I paid for. I'm not sponsored by anybody, but I have found Bell CB down in Florida. If you check him out, the guy, it's a family-run operation. He's a great guy, easy to talk to, no matter what level you're at. If you're a beginner, you don't have to be an expert. This is CB radio. If you just want to get into two-way communications and have a lot of fun with it, that's how everyone is drawn into it. And he's a great guy to work. It's a family-run operation. He's been around for decades, and he's a really nice guy, an exceptional quality work, fast work, an easy guy to deal with. Just tell him what you want. He'll explain anything you ask, and it's a good place to go. And absolutely 100% I would recommend you going to him, because simply for the one word, honesty. He's an honest guy, and you're going to get the best bang for your buck from him. He's an excellent radio engineer, and he just does a good job at what he does. So it's Bell CB in Florida. I'll leave a link in the comments below, and you can hit that link and see what he's got. He's got new and used radios, not only Strykers, but every other kind. It's a massive. He's got everything. He's got everything, mics and meters and every kind of brand and used stuff, and you'll see. It's a lot of fun, and he's a nice guy. So go to Bell. So let's talk bottom line. This is their top-of-the-line radio, and it cost around $450 $30, I believe it is, for just the stock model with no work done to it. And I know what you're thinking, if you're new to CB, why in the world would I spend $400 on a radio? Well, first of all, this is just an average radio that puts out 4.5 watts. This puts out a lot more power than that. Just out of the box, it's 60 watts on AM. And so when you have it peaked and tuned, by the way, this was on a Bird watt meter. It throws on AM a 1 to 18 watt carrier, a 1 to 40 watt carrier on FM, and PEP on single sideband, it's 18 to 83 watts. And on AM, when this is worked on, now this is what I'm saying, it's so important, the bottom line on this is 20 to 85 watts. So you're getting 85 watts. That's as much as any major brand amateur radio puts out. ICOM, Yaesu, and Kenwood on their amateur radio transceivers are generally standard as 100 watts. So you're getting a single sideband radio for $400. If you just bought the CB radio, right, a standard 40 channel CB radio, and then you also have to buy an amplifier, and you still have to buy a power supply. So, but this has everything built into it besides the power supply. It has the amp built into it, and it has all that coverage, and that's why it's $400. You can buy a standard beater CB radio for, $80 or $100, and that's fine, but you're getting 4.5 watts, and they can hear you maybe 5 miles away. With these, literally all over the world, like I keep saying, cycle 25 from the sun, it's at its peak, and it's coming to its peak. They claim June-ish this year, around there. They're saying it might be peaking early though, but that means communications. All I can say is turn on any CB radio anywhere, and you'll hear the world on certain days of the week. We call that a band opening. If you turn on the radio, you'll hear guys absolutely from all over the country. You'll hear them. I'm in Massachusetts. You'll hear them easily in California, Texas, Alaska, all over Canada, South America, all the islands. And then on really, really good skip days, you'll hear Europe, and even farther than that. So, and I'm not blowing smoke. It's absolutely true. So it's fun, man. You're housebound. It's the winter time, and you're in here, and that's generally when I like to use it. Is when there's no ice fishing or you're inside. This is the time for CB radio and ham radio. But that is the Stryker SR 955 HP. This has more than you know on it, and it's just incredibly beautiful flagship radio. And I hope you like this review. Give you the rundown, and this is the top of the line radio. If you're really into it, check these out. My name is Paul K. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Each and every week I put out a video, or I try to put out a video, and it's basically a hunting and fishing channel, and anything to do with the outdoors, hence the name Saturday Mornings Outdoors. I really want to thank all you guys and girls for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'd just like to add at the end of this video, just tonight when you go to bed, say your prayers and thank God for this country. It's a beautiful country we have here, and a lot of people are taking it for granted, it seems. Thank God for this country. It's all grace. See you next week. Take it easy.